Is there a hungry ghost ruining your happiness? Buddha's warning. Chapter 1. The Midnight Scroll and the Invisible Trap. It's past midnight. The glow of your phone screen is the only light in the room. You tell yourself, just one more video, just one more post, but before you know it, the hours have slipped away. You feel hollow, yet unable to stop. Does this sound familiar? In the ancient teachings of the Buddha, this phenomenon has a name, the realm of hungry ghosts. These spirits are doomed to roam endlessly, consumed by cravings they can never satisfy. But the truth is, you don't have to be dead to experience this suffering. Many of us are already living in this realm, caught in an endless cycle of wanting more likes, more content, more validation. The illusion of fulfillment. At the heart of this trap is the illusion that the next scroll, the next post, the next like will finally bring satisfaction. Social media, entertainment platforms, and endless feeds are designed to trigger dopamine releases, giving us short bursts of pleasure that mimic fulfillment but never last. Like the hungry ghosts in Buddhist teachings, we consume more and more, yet never feel truly nourished. Think about the feeling after binge watching a show or mindlessly scrolling through social media for hours. Do you feel refreshed, enlightened, or at peace? Or do you feel restless, mentally fatigued, and strangely empty? This is the invisible suffering of modern existence, always consuming, never arriving. The root of the craving. Buddhism teaches that craving, tanha, is the root of suffering. But where does this craving come from? Fear of being alone with our thoughts. Silence can be uncomfortable. It forces us to confront our inner restlessness, unresolved emotions, and deeper existential questions. Digital distractions offer an escape. The need for validation, each notification, like, or comment provides a temporary sense of worth. We seek approval from others, mistaking it for self-worth. The illusion of productivity. Scrolling through information makes us feel like we are learning or staying informed. But in reality, we rarely retain much. This false sense of progress keeps us trapped. The habit of avoidance. Many turn to their screens to escape stress, sadness, or boredom, but avoidance only deepens these emotions over time. Breaking free from the cycle. How do we escape the invisible trap of endless scrolling? The answer lies in mindfulness and intentionality. 1. Pause and observe. Before picking up your phone, ask yourself, why am I reaching for this? Is it boredom, anxiety, a desire for distraction? Simply pausing creates awareness and disrupts the automatic habit loop. 2. Practice digital minimalism. The Buddha advised his followers to consume only what is necessary for spiritual growth. In the same way, curate your digital diet. Unfollow accounts that trigger comparison or negativity. Limit social media time to specific, intentional periods. Replace endless scrolling with mindful activities like reading, journaling, or meditation. 3. Reconnect with the present moment. Instead of seeking stimulation from a screen, try being present with real life. Observe your breath. Listen to the sounds around you. Engage in deep, meaningful conversations. Spend time in nature. 4. Meditation and mindful awareness. Regular meditation helps rewire the brain to find peace in stillness rather than constant stimulation. Even 5 minutes of deep breathing can create a powerful shift in awareness. 5. Reframe your perspective. Recognize that true fulfillment does not come from external sources. No amount of likes, views, or digital validation can replace inner peace. Contentment arises when we break free from the need to chase the next thing and instead be fully present with what is. A new way of being. Imagine waking up and feeling at peace rather than reaching for your phone first thing in the morning. Imagine spending time with loved ones without the urge to check notifications. Imagine reading a book, meditating, or simply sitting in stillness and feeling enough as you are. This is the true liberation that Buddhist teachings point us toward, not rejecting technology, but using it with wisdom. Instead of being consumed by the midnight scroll, we can reclaim our time, attention, and inner tranquility. The path to freedom begins not with the next post, but with the next breath. Chapter 2. The Birth of the Hungry Ghosts in the Digital Age. The Psychological Design of Addiction. Tech companies engineer apps to hijack your brain's dopamine system. Every like, every notification, every new post is a carefully crafted psychological trick to keep you engaged. Studies show that endless scrolling triggers the same brain pathways as gambling, making it nearly impossible to stop once you start. But why do we fall for it? At its core, the mind seeks pleasure and avoids discomfort, a cycle deeply embedded in human nature. The Buddha identified this as a fundamental cause of suffering: attachment to fleeting pleasures and resistance to discomfort. Digital platforms exploit this tendency by offering an infinite cycle of micro-rewards. A notification provides a tiny rush of dopamine, but the pleasure is short-lived, leaving us craving the next one. This cycle mirrors the suffering of the hungry ghosts, who are condemned to chase desires they can never truly satisfy. The illusion of control. One of the most deceptive aspects of digital addiction is the illusion of autonomy. We believe we are making conscious choices, scrolling by choice, checking notifications by choice, but in reality, our attention is being manipulated. Algorithms learn our behaviors, preferences, and psychological weaknesses, ensuring that content is served in a way that keeps us hooked without awareness. In Buddhist philosophy, the untrained mind is like a wild elephant, constantly pulled in different directions by cravings and aversions. Without awareness, we become enslaved by digital stimuli, unable to resist the next click, the next episode, the next post. The three forms of digital hunger. 1. Physical hunger, the merging of consumption. Have you ever eaten an entire meal while watching a video, only to realize you barely tasted your food? Mindless eating while consuming digital content is a modern phenomenon of craving in dual forms, both physical and digital. We are not only feeding our stomachs but also feeding our restless minds. Buddhism teaches the practice of mindful eating, being fully present with each bite, appreciating the taste, texture, and nourishment of food. In contrast, digital distractions turn eating into an unconscious act, reinforcing our habit of constant consumption without true satisfaction. 2. Emotional hunger, the digital thirst for validation. The craving for social validation has always existed, but in the digital age, it has been amplified to an extreme degree. Likes, shares, and follows act as instant but shallow affirmations of worth. Every notification triggers a brief sense of approval, but like drinking salt water, the more we consume, the thirstier we become. The Buddha taught that true contentment comes from within, not from external validation. Yet, the constant exposure to curated lives and filtered realities makes us feel inadequate. Driving an endless loop of comparison and self-doubt, we chase approval online, mistaking it for real connection, when in truth, deep human fulfillment comes from presence, not performance. 3. Mental hunger, the fear of emptiness. Perhaps the most insidious form of digital craving is the need to be constantly entertained or informed. Silence feels unbearable. We instinctively reach for our phones during any moment of stillness, waiting in line. Before bed, even while walking, we fear boredom because it exposes the emptiness we have not yet learned to embrace. Buddhism teaches that peace is found in stillness, yet our modern minds resist it. We crave distraction to avoid facing ourselves. But true liberation comes from sitting with discomfort rather than running from it. When we learn to be fully present, we no longer seek entertainment to fill the void. we discover that the void itself is an illusion. Breaking free from the digital samsara. 1. Mindful awareness of habits. Before reaching for your phone, pause and ask, am I acting out of habit or genuine need? This small moment of awareness creates space between impulse and action, weakening the cycle of unconscious craving. 2. Curating digital consumption. Just as mindful eating involves choosing nourishing food, mindful media consumption requires intentional selection. Unfollow accounts that feed comparison or negativity. Limit time spent on digital platforms with conscious boundaries. Replace passive scrolling with meaningful engagement. 3. Practicing presence in daily life. Challenge yourself to experience moments without digital distractions. Eat without a screen and focus on the flavors. Walk without headphones and listen to the world around you. Sit in stillness and observe your breath without needing external stimulation. 4. Reconnecting with true fulfillment. No amount of scrolling, watching, or clicking can replace real human connection, deep inner peace, and a mind free from craving. True fulfillment arises when we detach from the illusion of more and embrace the completeness of the present moment. Just as the hungry ghosts wander endlessly, we, too, will remain trapped in the digital cycle of craving unless we awaken to its nature. The path to liberation begins not with another post, but with the wisdom to stop seeking outside what has always been within. Chapter 3. My 3 a.m. wake-up call. I remember the night it hit me. I had just spent 9 hours on my phone. I wasn't researching anything important. I wasn't working. I was simply consuming, one video after another, one post after another, and at the end of it, I felt nothing but emptiness. This wasn't just a bad habit. This was a spiritual crisis. The unseen chains of modern craving. At first, I told myself it was harmless. Everyone scrolls to unwind, right? But the truth was, I wasn't unwinding. I was escaping boredom, discomfort, and the unease of sitting alone with my own thoughts. Buddhism teaches that craving, tanha, is the root of suffering. And yet, I was feeding my craving every night, mistaking distraction for relief. The more I consumed, the more restless I became. My mind was trapped in a cycle of seeking, yet never arriving. The retreat that changed everything. I decided to do something drastic. I packed my bags and went on a Buddhist retreat in Thailand. No phone, no distractions, just silence. At first, the silence was unbearable. My mind was desperate for stimulation. I found myself reaching for my phone even when it wasn't there. A phantom impulse that revealed just how deeply I had been conditioned. Then, something shifted. Through hours of sitting meditation and walking meditation, I began to see my thoughts clearly for the first time. The endless need for entertainment, validation, and escape, none of it was real. It was just habit energy, a pattern my mind had fallen into. The monk spoke of the monkey mind, the restless, grasping nature of an untrained mind, and suddenly, I saw it. My mind had been like a monkey, swinging endlessly from branch to branch, never content to rest. Breaking free from the cycle. Each day, I learned to slow down, to eat mindfully, to walk without hurry, to simply be. At night, instead of staring at a screen, I stared at the sky, watching the moonlight touch the earth, feeling a peace I had long forgotten. The realization was simple yet profound. Happiness isn't found in the next video, the next notification, or the next distraction. It is found in presence. The retreat ended, but the lesson stayed with me. Now, whenever I feel the urge to numb my mind with endless scrolling, I pause, I breathe, and I remember. True freedom is not in consuming more, it is in needing less. Chapter 4. The Poisonous Cycle of Craving. Buddha described 3 poisons that keep us suffering. 1. Greed, lobha, the insatiable hunger. The modern world thrives on more content, more validation, more distractions. Each notification, each scroll feeds the illusion that we are gaining something. Yet we are only deepening our cravings. Like a thirsty man drinking salt water. The more we consume, the more we need. This is the root of digital addiction, an endless cycle of seeking without satisfaction. 2. Hatred, dosa, the frustration of unmet expectations. How often do we feel irritated when our posts don't get enough likes? When someone ignores our message, or when an algorithm doesn't favor us? This is attachment to outcomes. And when reality doesn't meet our desires, frustration arises. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from clinging. The tighter we hold onto expectations, the more we suffer when they slip away. 3. Delusion, moha, the false promise of fulfillment. Perhaps the greatest deception is the belief that the next post, the next purchase, the next distraction will finally bring happiness. We chase validation, thinking it will make us whole. But like a mirage, fulfillment always seems just out of reach. Buddhism teaches that true contentment arises not from getting more, but from letting go. Every time you pick up your phone, this algorithm is running in your mind. The question is, are you aware of it, or are you being controlled by it? Chapter 5. The Parable of Moggallana and the Unbreakable Cycle. Buddha's disciple, Moggallana, was one of the most spiritually powerful monks of his time. Yet, even with his extraordinary abilities, he could not save his own mother from the karmic consequences of her past actions. She had been reborn as a hungry ghost, condemned to wander in endless suffering due to her insatiable greed and selfishness in life. The fire of endless craving. Moggallana saw her suffering through his divine vision. Every time she tried to eat, the food would turn into fire, burning her from within. This was not mere punishment. This was the natural result of a life consumed by selfish desire. She had hoarded wealth, neglected generosity, and refused to share with others. Now, in her new existence, nothing could satisfy her hunger. The image of a being constantly seeking but never fulfilled is a powerful metaphor for the modern world. How many of us chase more wealth, more pleasure, more recognition, believing that the next thing will bring us happiness, only to feel even more empty? The power of collective compassion. Moggallana, despite his immense spiritual power, could not free his mother alone. It was only when he humbly turned to the Buddha for guidance that a path of liberation was revealed. The Buddha instructed him to gather a community of monks and offer a great act of generosity on behalf of his mother. When this selfless act was performed, the merit generated became the key to breaking her suffering. No one escapes alone. The lesson is clear. No one escapes the cycle of suffering alone. Individual effort is important, but it is through collective compassion, shared merit, and interconnected kindness that we truly find freedom. This story is a call to practice generosity, cultivate compassion, and recognize that our liberation is tied to the well-being of others. True fulfillment doesn't come from hoarding, grasping, or endlessly craving. It comes from giving, sharing, and letting go. Chapter 6. Breaking Free, the Path to Digital Liberation. Quitting technology entirely is not realistic, nor did Buddha ever preach extreme renunciation. Instead, he taught the middle way, a balanced path that allows us to use technology without becoming enslaved by it. The key is awareness, intentionality, and mindful consumption rather than blind attachment. 1. The awareness practice. See your ghosts. Before change can happen, we must first see the problem clearly. Digital attachment, like other forms of craving, tanha, thrives in unconsciousness. Track your screen time. Awareness begins with measurement. Many of us underestimate how much time we spend online. Check your daily screen time and reflect. Is this how I want to spend my life? Identify your biggest digital weaknesses. Is it endless social media scrolling? Binge watching? Checking notifications every few minutes? Naming your hungry ghosts helps weaken their hold. Observe when and why you turn to your phone. Are you escaping boredom? Avoiding emotions? Seeking validation? Every time you reach for your device, pause and ask, what am I truly looking for? 2. Creating ghost-free zones. Just as a temple has sacred spaces free from distractions, your daily life needs tech-free zones, spaces where your mind can breathe. First hour of the day, no phones, starting the day with silence. Gratitude or meditation sets the tone for presence rather than reactivity. Mealtimes. Eat without screens. Food is not just nourishment for the body but a practice of mindfulness. Eating while scrolling disconnects us from the experience. Before bed. 1 hour of real unwinding, instead of doom scrolling. Cultivate rituals of reading, meditation, deep conversations, or journaling. Sleep quality improves, and so does mental clarity. 3. The 2-minute ghost test. Before picking up your phone, apply this simple but powerful test. Is this necessary? Does this action serve a real purpose? Or am I just reaching out of habit? Is this beneficial? Will this improve my well-being, knowledge, or relationships? Is my ghost just hungry for more? Am I seeking distraction, validation, or an escape from discomfort? By taking 2 mindful minutes before indulging, you interrupt the automatic cycle of digital craving. 4. Building a ghost-busting community. Human connection was never meant to be digital alone. We are social beings, and deep fulfillment comes from real interactions, not just virtual ones. Meet friends offline once a week. A face-to-face conversation provides more emotional nourishment than 1,000 messages. Join a meditation or mindfulness group. Practicing presence with others reinforces your commitment. Replace digital interactions with real conversations. Instead of texting, call someone. Instead of online debates, discuss ideas over tea. 5. Transforming digital habits. Technology is not the enemy, unconscious use is. Instead of letting digital platforms consume you, use them with purpose. Use social media to create, not just consume. Share insights, art, reflections, or positive content rather than passively scrolling. Turn YouTube binges into learning opportunities. Follow channels that educate, inspire, or deepen wisdom rather than just entertain. Convert mindless scrolling into community participation. Engage in meaningful discussions, support causes, or contribute to online groups that uplift rather than distract. Walking the middle path in the digital age. True freedom is not in quitting technology but in mastering our relationship with it. When we stop using our devices to escape reality and start using them with awareness and intention, we reclaim our minds from the endless loop of craving. The path is not about rejection, but transformation, turning digital consumption into a tool for wisdom, growth, and human connection. Chapter 7. The Power of Small Changes. The most profound lesson from my Buddhist retreat was this: liberation happens gradually. Just like drops of water fill a bucket, small mindful choices add up over time. At first, the changes felt insignificant, spending 5 minutes in silence before checking my phone, eating without distractions, resisting the urge to scroll mindlessly before bed. But day by day, these moments of awareness accumulated. I learned to pause before reacting, instead of instinctively picking up my phone whenever I felt bored or restless. I asked myself, do I really need this right now? I reclaimed my time. I started replacing screen time with meditation, deep conversations, nature walks, and reading, activities that actually nourished my mind. I reconnected with presence, the simple act of drinking tea without a screen, Walking without headphones, or watching the sunset without the need to capture it made me feel more alive than endless notifications ever could. A year after implementing these changes, my screen time dropped by 70%, my relationships deepened, my anxiety faded, and most importantly, I no longer felt controlled by my phone. True transformation doesn't come from drastic changes but from consistent, mindful steps. The path to digital freedom isn't about rejecting technology, it's about using it consciously, intentionally, and without attachment. Chapter 8. The Ultimate Realization: You are your own master. Buddha taught that awareness is the path to immortality. The moment you become truly aware of the hungry ghost inside you, it begins to lose its grip. The cycle of craving, whether for validation, distraction, or endless consumption, only continues as long as it remains unconscious. But awareness alone is not enough. You must also reclaim your power of choice. Do you reach for your phone out of habit, or out of intention? Do you control your desires, or do they control you? Are you feeding your mind, or are you feeding your ghost? Tonight, when you feel the pull of your screen at 3 a.m., pause, feel the craving arise, but do not act on it immediately. Observe it, let it pass. The more you resist the impulse, the weaker it becomes. Each time you choose presence over distraction, consciousness over compulsion, you reclaim a part of yourself. The world will always tempt you with more content, more stimulation, more noise, but freedom begins the moment you realize, you are not your cravings. You are not your impulses. You are the master of your mind. The choice is yours.